Everybody is calling this all SMP, right? It's just this category that we all fit into. But what we do is so incredibly different that it's like, I would say honestly, a little insulting and a little bit deceiving being in the same category.
Our work is so much different.
Yes. And our process is so different.
And that's very true. Our process, how we go about it, our knowledge base, I'll stay on top of it. But for what it is, for people that don't know our industry through and through, I hope you can just see the results. And that's what we want to discuss here. We're going to point it out because it's very obvious to us. In my opinion, as a hair loss guy, right? Having SMP, I feel like I have a one-up on guys that are bald and struggling a little bit. I see guys that are bald, I'm like, oh man, you have no idea how wonderful life can feel to have that subtle hairline. Yeah. And if someone says, hey man, what's going on in your head? Even if I didn't do this for a living, I would feel comfortable and challenge people. Hey, can you see that that's actually ink? It doesn't look like ink, even up close. See the impressions. This is healed, and we did it the right way. We took multiple sessions and superficial impressions. And again, I call this subtle pigmentation, right? The guys that have SMP that went to the wrong artist, in my opinion, and it looks like ink. Too many guys, it looks like a Lego head. I can't figure better words to call it other than it looks like a Lego head. And I can see why people were so afraid of getting scalp micropigmentation. And those guys, I say, they're under the bald guys. It's like, yeah, we were all searching for something for hair loss. We didn't feel comfortable. And, they went to the wrong artist, in my opinion. Now I feel like they're worse off. I would feel worse off.
Like it took them back a couple steps is really what it is.
Exactly.
In a nice way to put it.
No, that's exactly it. Just flat out. Yeah, just in a realistic way. And I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. That's not my intention. I'm a guy with hair loss and, I have scalp pigmentation on my head. So I can understand. I can relate. But what I'm saying is this is so much different. We're talking night and day. It should be called something different.
Exactly.
And so here we are. We're calling what we do subtle pigmentation. But I would say maybe 5% of this industry that's called the scalp micropigmentation industry is doing what I believe to be subtle pigmentation.
I also think though it can be a bit deceiving seeing other photos on the internet because again, you're always seeing fresh results. You're never seeing long-term results. You're not seeing that sometimes they're covering just the hair loss area but not blending into the sides. And you can see where it almost kind of stops.
Right.
And while it's fresh, it looks good. And it looks like it could even pass for covering hair loss. But long term, as artists, we can already identify that that's not going to heal correctly. So it's hard because sometimes I'll get the calls and they're like, yeah, I'm thinking of you and then this other artist. And I'm like, wait a second, what? Wait, those are completely different processes and our results look very, very different. But when you understand that you are mixing not only skincare, the quality of your skincare, plus the depth of what Joe does combined, I mean, it's a force to be reckoned with.
I always say, what scalp micropigmentation is, or subtle pigmentation is, it's a combination of two different skill sets. One of them is, not necessarily barbering, but it's understanding hairline flows. It's drawing the correct hairline because that's just as big of a problem in the industry as the depth of the ink. And the other component, so drawing the hairlines, all that kind of stuff, and then it's actually inserting the ink.
Yes.
So it's tattooing, but it's a completely different form of tattooing. And this is why it's so hard for people to perfect, which is good and bad. It's good because it's fun, it's exciting, it's new, and it's groundbreaking in a lot of ways. But it's bad because a lot of people don't understand it. I see a lot of people experimenting out there. I see huge hair transplant companies that just signed on to this last year. They're doing what I was doing 8 years ago, 9 years ago. It's not okay to sell yourself as the best in the world, the gurus. I've seen so many people who come out, and I think we should talk about that a little bit too. People doing this, they'll ask me questions and be really nice to me. And I know a lot of these guys, especially from the barbering world, hey Joe, you do great stuff. I want to learn this. I have the skill set. And then a year later, this guy's saying, I'm the best in the world. There's no one like me. Buy my inks. And then the results.
Huge training classes, acting like they've been doing it for a very, very long time.
That's right. And listen, that's great. There's a demographic, there's an audience for everything.
Yes,
but what we're saying is don't put us in the same box. Don't compare us like we're the same thing because edge ups, these sharp edge ups, it's very hard to do one of these results, to complete one of these results as an artist and know that it's going to heal naturally and have a natural look. What we see as artists, it just pops out to us is these big fat dots, right? It's essentially with most of these edge ups, guys are wearing their hair like a couple of days growth.
Yeah,
they want to have a little bit of texture. They want that really bold look, and you get that. They get exactly that. And to Nicole's point, we see a lot of those pictures. I'd say 90% on the internet, 95 are the immediate results, so meaning the date of the treatment.
Yes.
So that result's going to look so much different when all the irritation goes away,
Exactly.
all the ink heals and starts settling into the skin, and that's when you don't see a lot of pictures, and especially you don't see any up-close pictures. And so what I'm saying is they're seeing blotches of ink all over to conceal hair loss. That's what we were doing years ago, but it's not the same thing as what we're doing right now. You know, taking a lot of labor. We say 5 sessions, but you know, that's me working 4 or 5 hours. You're working 4 or 5 hours per session.
Yes.
It's a lot of labor.
And work beforehand, getting the skin right, understanding
That's right.
that we're going so
That's right.
superficial, so that your skin actually needs to be ready so that you can have the best treatment possible. We get too many calls, and I say this because we love what we do. We get too many calls of guys that went somewhere, they were really happy originally, 6 months later, a year later, they don't know how to get it off their head fast enough.
Right.
And I'm just tired of that.
And as you can hear from both of us, we're very passionate. Of course, there's the business side of it, and that could have been our money, and that could have been our client, all that kind of stuff. That's not what drives us.
No.
What gets me is like, man, that guy was struggling, because you get those phone calls.
Yes.
These guys get weird when they call you. It's hair loss, and
they were struggling to start off with hair loss, and now they're struggling to take it off and not to have the whole world know while they're trying to get it removed.
It's hard to look, it's hard to see, and again, in abundance. There's a lot. So this is a beautiful industry. It's growing great. You know, we're all refining our standards. I'm not saying everyone out there is doing terrible work. The message we really want to convey is, you know, there's subtle pigmentation.
Yes.
There's scalp micropigmentation, and I'd be cautious with the word micro, because people use the word micro and these dots are so darn large. And also another thing I want to point out, these 2 or 3 sessions people are doing, this is worldwide, I'm not talking about any specific artist or company. This is what most people are doing. They use such large impressions because the goal is to get enough boldness to match the native hair.
Yes.
So I understand why they're doing it, and this is why we take so many sessions, because we get there a different way.
Yep.
But they're taking the faster approach, bigger impressions, and essentially when they're doing the 3rd session, I see this all the time on the internet, when they're doing the 3rd session, I see what's left of the first 2 sessions if they showcase it. It's hard to find the transparency, to be honest, but it looks like a solid shade of gray.
Yep.
Like they just took a big shader and just did the whole thing gray and then put some dots on top. So again, being able to understand and identify what it is you're looking at.
I feel that clients now more and more are starting to ask the right questions, and they're starting to really do their research because they want a long-term treatment. So I'm glad that we can put ourselves in a completely different category, and it's not ego, it's really just the results and giving you guys the correct information.